some moves tonight, you stand up. Got something to prove tonight, so stand up. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright. We ain't gonna stall, never stop. We gon' make it all till it's out. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright.
Hey folks, happy Wednesday night. My name is Scott Churchson. Alongside me is the mighty Davi. We're talking NYCFC tonight, talking a little bit about the new moves that have happened over there with the new sporting director, a little season recap, a little roster move changes, and basically anything we feel like going into. So, sir, let's roll with you first. How you doing?
Doing all right. The finals are here, so not just MLS, but also college if you're university, if you guys are, any of you are listening. So,
Truth.
Final season all around. So,
yeah, I would say, yeah, USL and NWSL already wrapped up. MLS and basically cup playoffs are basically wrapping up this weekend.
Yeah, Liga MX just had their finals as well. So,
yeah, but we're going to be basically focusing a lot on NYCFC tonight. You have homework you got to do, so I want to respect that. Let's get this rolling. But the big news that came down right out of the gate, right out of the chute, is the fact that NYCFC has a new David Lee. And I want to get your thoughts a little bit on this because this one's a little different in the form of Todd Donovan. And I wanted to get your feels on him, what he's like, what your thoughts are, if you like it, if you don't like it, or really anything that you may have in this arena. Talk to me about it.
I mean, his resume as a record and as a GM as well, just the two jobs that he's had, phenomenal. I mean, this guy knows the league inside out. Played with the LA Galaxy, retired there, obviously won the cup with Donovan in his last year, and the year before we came in. So he knows his way around the league, and then retired, and then just transitioned to being a sporting director of the San Francisco Deltas of the now the defunct NASL, the second iteration, and they won it in their only season. So he won for one with San Francisco. So that's obviously something that you're not gonna scoff at because that's a really impressive feat. I mean, hell, San Diego nearly did it in MLS this year. So, and then he came into Sacramento Republic, which is the position he leaves to come over to MLS and NYCFC. He's done really well for himself at Sacramento as well. He talked about this year being in a cup final at home with Sacramento. Unfortunately, they came up short, but 2022, everybody knows the magical cup run that they made against Orlando. They gave Orlando a really good push up until they scored that first goal, and then it just fell away from there. But, I mean, you can't really argue with the short resume that he's had. A very young sporting director, 44 years old. So we're hoping that he can maybe make some of those moves that David Lee was a little bit maybe tied behind his back because of CFG, or maybe he's just reluctant to make trades at MLS or pick up veterans. But hey, David Lee's gone, so on to a new sporting director, and hopefully he gets the finishing touches and leads us to the second cup.
Now, let me ask you this. Let me get your take here. In this case here, unlike David Lee, he has a resume inside MLS. You mentioned this already. A lot of the talk about, most of his games, almost 200 matches came from the LA Galaxy. He is only, like you said, 44 years old. He turns 45 towards the end of the month. But in this case, unlike David Lee, having a professional MLS experience, what do you think is going to happen when it comes to that kind of a relationship with the players? I would imagine it's only got to be stronger because he's been in the trenches like the players have.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it was a completely different era of Major League Soccer that he was in compared to where we're at now. But he still, the struggles are the same. You got to go train, you got to go, get fit, be healthy, and try to compete for your spot on the team. So, and he knows how to win championships as a player in this league. And hell, he's won 5 for crying out loud, and he's won a couple supporter shields as well. So, obviously we're looking to kind of get the finishing touches here on the team. I mean, Pascal really worked his magic. Unfortunately, against Inter Miami, came up short. But I mean, with the shorthanded team that he had and on such short notice as well, with Alonso and Perea going out the way that they did, 5-1. This seems a little bit of a harsh scoreline when it comes to analyzing that game. But I mean, nobody expected us to get this far. So we were a game away from an MLS Cup appearance, and I think we genuinely have something here. We finally have the proper coaching to go far. We just need the players. I mean, he did all he could with the cast that he had remaining towards the end of the year. So we're hoping Todd Duviant can do his thing here and get the players that we need to really make a push.
Now it's interesting also, Duviant, with Sacramento. This is the interesting part: is that in the USL, Sacramento has actually led the USL in attendance 3 years running. And I'm curious in this case because of the pedigree and the experience. One of the only teams in USL which would consistently draw 10,000 fans a game. Most teams didn't. I mean, even like certain teams, like for example Pittsburgh, which just won the USL championship, they were averaging 2,500 to 5,000 a game, and they won the title. Sacramento, historically and statistically, has really done well with the USL in form of ticket sales. During the time that Todd's been running the show. So I have to wonder if that's going to be done a little bit, maybe for the purposes of trying to generate more buzz, not only with the new the new arena, but also in New York City as a whole, where by and large, most people don't even recognize the team even exists. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, but I think he was the general manager that was there to expect, because they were originally the team that was going to go into MLS.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic happened and the owner backed out for whatever reason. They didn't have the financial backing to come into the league anymore. And then that's how we got San Diego into the league. And they've been a phenomenal addition to the league if you just look at the season that they had. So, I mean, I know Sacramento, they're getting a new stadium as well. I believe in downtown Sacramento, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to get a stadium. That was a stadium that was supposed to put them over the edge into the MLS bid. So, I mean, he's built a fantastic team. I mean, Sacramento, they're one of the top teams in the USL. I mean, well-attended games, but it's just very unfortunate that for the fans and for everybody associated with the club that they're not going to be in Major League Soccer. And I think essentially their dreams of ever joining MLS are officially dead with San Diego FC joining. So it's unfortunate for the fans, but I mean, he still did a hell of a job, like over there in California. So. We're expecting him to kind of transition into MLS, and he's not going to do it with an expansion team. He's going to do it with a well-established club and part of a big network in CFG.
Let's talk about that a little bit here, because you did touch on this when it came to the record the team has had. So I'm pulling up right now the record over the last few years, pretty much since the day one here. If you can see that, this comes from footballref.com. So you look at the stats pretty much top to bottom here. 17 wins in the season, which was second highest in team history. 12 losses also, which tied for second highest in history. But a point, basically a little bit better than last year, 6 points higher than last year, one higher in the goal differential. The offensive output had dropped, though. The defensive output, I mean, defense wins championships, granted. But the fact that the offense has dipped a little bit more this season over previous seasons is interesting to me. But you have to look at it, even with losing Alonso Martinez until May, June, July of next year. This team has a lot to build into 2026 just because of the fact that most of the pieces are still in place. We'll talk about some of those pieces in a second there. But give me your thoughts on this season versus last, and honestly, this season versus next year.
Just felt like we played better this year, and I think the little bit of a drop-off that we see in the offense can be attributed to selling Santi Rodriguez start of the year and not replacing him until July. I mean, Nico Fernandez-Mercado has been one of the best signings in the league this year. I think if it wasn't for the big names like Son and Thomas Muller, he'd probably be talked about as probably the best signing in the summer window. So him coming over as a DP, big expectations, but I think he's filled in the shoes. I mean, he really hit the ground running with the first game and getting the assists. And I think he's been better than Santi Rodriguez. I think he's even better than his 2024 self. I genuinely think that we got a grand slam of a player in Fernandez Mercado. Unfortunately, now Alonso's gone down and Perea, so I think this also makes the job more attractive to Todd, because he's going to get to have his handprints on this team, and it's going to be significant because Perea and Alonso, they're going to be out for a long period of time. So he's really going to get the players that are going to fill in those shoes. And unfortunately for Alonso, I think Europe might be dead in the water. He might be stuck here for maybe an extra year or two, or he might finish out his career in MLS. But it's very unfortunate for Alonso to go out on international duty and his nation not even qualify for the World Cup on top of that. So
Yeah. And it's funny. It's not funny, ironic. But what this did is this gave me a little bit of Edwin Diaz vibes. So if you remember when Edwin Diaz hurt himself in the World Baseball Classic and was out for the entire year with the Mets, this literally gave me the exact same vibes here because he's not even playing for the team. He's playing on a national level. And now basically it screws him on the regular season. So, yeah, I think you're dead right here because of the fact that, European teams or even Brazilian teams are going to be a little more skittish because of the injury that he had. And seeing what that does going into 2026 will be interesting. Did it set it back a couple of years? Probably, yeah, it did. I think with a new sporting director here, one of the biggest things is they always like to leave their stamp and put their team in this. Being a New York Giants fan as long as I have been, whenever there's a new coach and new GM, they always kind of do things their own way. So in that case, lather, rinse, and repeat. But in this case, he's going to want to start to create an identity that ties directly to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's inherited this squad. He's inherited a lot of previous administration players. So you have to wonder how much of a turnover will there be going in and through 2026. You have to assume Alonso Martinez will stay on. You have to assume that probably Matt Freese will stay put.
He signed a contract extension, so he's not going anywhere unless we get a big offer.
That's where I was going to finish with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless he gets a monster offer from Europe. And if, obviously with the World Cup coming up, all eyes are going to be on him in a massive way. That is a massive audition tape for Matt Freese right here, if you didn't have one already.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder, is he, what kind of numbers would he get in Europe? Justin Hack, there's been some talks about what's going to happen there. You mentioned Pereira. Pereira had his option declined. But, could he come back? Is Maxi Morales coming back? There's a lot of questions as far as this team goes and the roster moves that are upcoming here because of the fact that there's just, honestly, like I said, a lot of different questions. And I don't know whether this team is going to keep a lot of these guys, whether, he's going to want to sit there and create an identity, like I said, tied to himself and his own legacy, with his first MLS squad.
This could also be just CFG pulling the strings and everybody, and maybe that's why. David Lee said he had to fight for players like Hannes Wolf and Nico Fernandez Mercado. Which you could. I don't think that's necessarily true. If I'm being honest. David Lee amongst the fan base, especially in the last couple of years, hasn't really had a good reputation amongst NYCFC fans, especially post Cup with the Cushing era being how that was big of a disaster that was. The way they started that and then throughout everything and with the fans losing faith in him, and so it's gonna be difficult. We'll see how Todd reacts to this, and I think he's got to work with Pascal Janssen on this, and they got to see eye to eye. I have a feeling Pascal and David Lee didn't really see eye to eye that much. I think you had a source on the Santi decision being a Pascal decision and letting him go.
It's only a theory, a soccer theory. Mm-hmm. But yes, there is the rumors that he basically orchestrated that transfer because he wanted the clubhouse the way he wanted it. And clearly it obviously worked out long term.
Yeah.
Because boy, they also got banked for Santi Rodriguez too.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out really, really well in that regard. But, there has been some talk that maybe that's happened. There's been a little bit of talk that maybe the clubhouse wasn't as blended as it was under Nick Cushing. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any truth to that rumor. Is next year going to be interesting if the team starts to struggle out of the gate? Could there be internal chaos? I'm not sure. But there has been a couple of conversations about the fact that the team is Pascal Janssen. I've seen this directly. Pascal Janssen is not the friendly coach that Nick Cushing was. The way it was described to me is Nick Cushing is the fun uncle and Pascal Janssen is the military cop dad you want to impress. And it'll be interesting to see what happens year two, because invariably, and this is the way it always ends up working, you get the nice coach, you get the tough ass, you get the nice coach, tough ass, and it just bounces back and forth on a regular basis that way. So I'll be interested to see what happens with 2026 here, because now at this point, they're not the scrappy underdogs. There's an expectation here. And I'm not talking Pascal Janssen's expectation. I'm talking the expectation the league has, because now they've made the playoffs 2 years in a row. Now they've had 3 series wins in the last 2 years. So the expectation is Eastern Conference Finals at minimum or bust. And anything short of that would be a failed season, I think, in the eyes of most of the fans. Janssen would say straight up MLS Cup fail or bust, and I get that. But I think if the fans don't see at least an Eastern Conference Final appearance next year, I think they will chalk up next year as a loss.
Maybe not a final, maybe a semifinal for sure. If you don't make it,
you would accept.
If you don't make it if you don't make it at a round one, that's a disappointment of a season, especially depending on how high you finish in the table. Because the higher you are, the more home games you're going to get. So
true.
Obviously, you could have a tough opponent like Philly. I mean, I think if we lost to Philly, we would have accepted the season. It was like, hey, you know what? It was a good year. It was a good run. But I think with the conference final appearance and, being one game away from another MLS Cup, I think expectation from here is at least another conference final.
Sure.
Or at least making it to the big dance in the final. So, a lot of questions are going to be asked of this team, but I think if they struggle out of the gate, I don't think they're the type of team that really kind of just put their head down and just be like, oh, we suck. Like, we won't be able to turn it around. I feel like they could actually turn it around. It just feels like the team was more unified. They played like they had each other's back more so this year compared to the last 2 years that under Nick Cushing. I mean, Nick Cushing just at some point in the 2024 season, I was told this by a source. Had he lost to Toronto after the home opener loss to Portland, had he lost that 4th game in a row, he would have been fired right there and then. So
I would believe it.
I don't know. I just heard it from a source close to me, and he made Santi like the quarterback essentially. He's kind of like what Brian Dable did with Jackson Dart this series. Like, all right, you're like, my job literally rides on you. Like, your success is my success type of deal. And Santi had a hell of a year last year, and the emergence of Alonso Martinez as well. That also helped out. So, but I do think you probably need better players on the forward end of the ball and on the third of the pitch. So, it's up to Todd and Pascal and to see how they want to go at it and how they view certain players that they're scouting and ultimately who's going to come into the door.
True. Now, in this case, do you have the word came down? Now, I've always been high on him personally, but I want to just get your thoughts, and no answers are wrong one. I just want your opinion. Christian Benteke is now available. Now, I have always been very high on Christian Benteke because of the fact that he is just absolutely fantastic at aerial goals. His percentage on there, DC would just punt the ball in the air and just let him come down with it. Would NYCFC grab someone like Benteke and let him basically orchestrate things a little bit and be able to feed the ball and get possession, and push it towards Alonso Martinez or Hannes or Fernandez or any of these other guys?
Well, like a hold up play and like how he holds up the ball and lets runners come in, or just like route one football, just boot it up and hopefully he gets it. Like, Benteke's down there somewhere.
Basically, well, that was always Benteke's strongest fact. So if you ever looked at his statistics there, aerial duels, he was the god of aerial duels.
Yeah.
So if that ball went airborne, because he had the vertical and the height combined. I mean, he was basically built like a goalkeeper.
Yeah. And
he had the vertical. So DC's entire approach was let Benteke come down with it.
Like Benteke's down there somewhere.
Basically, yeah. And I almost wonder if that wouldn't be a bad addition. I mean, he will get a job somewhere. I have no doubt of that. But like I said, maybe it's just personal bias, but I've always been pretty high on him. And I wouldn't mind seeing him as a possible 1-year deal, just going right up the turnpike up to New York.
I mean, the numbers back themselves. I mean, he literally won the Golden Boot on a team that didn't even make the freaking playoffs last season. So, I mean, he was decent within his own right at Aston Villa and at Crystal Palace when he was in the Premier League before he came over here. So, I mean, he's always been a good striker. I mean, I would like to have Benteke there because MLS proven, well-known player, and then we have Nico who could whip in balls, and Maxi, if he decides to come back, he could also put in a good ball in the air. I think even if you have a ball that's kind of like okay, just because of his frame and his and like his physicality, he could still go up there and win the ball. Just give him a chance to head the ball, and he's gonna try to do something with it in the air. So it's not a whether of yes, I want him. It's a whether of are we gonna actually go ahead and do the business here.
Yeah, and I think in this case, since you mentioned the striker part of it, not having a bona fide striker. I mean, okay, Nico could be, could fall into that spot, but you lost your primary number one blue lock striker. And, could Benteke fill that role and drop right in there and then keep basically the same system you kind of have right now? I'd say it's plausible. I'd say it could happen. I would not be against it personally, but obviously this decision is way out of my hands here. I would be, curious to see, but again, this all comes down to what the team is going to decide to do, where they're going to go with it, and what kind of stamp they want to have on 2026. We can already assume that Bjornsson's already deep involved in this. His general rule of allow yourself 24 hours after a win or a loss is well passed. And, I know that no one has probably micromanaged that team more than he did. The amount of times on that press conference after the loss to Miami, he used the word naive. You could tell he felt like he didn't do a good enough job. And he's like, I am not making this mistake again. I think that they got a little soft at certain points, but he used the word naive probably about 14 times in that press conference. And I know for a fact he and the rest of the team is going to learn from this mistake. And that's not always a bad thing, because you learn more from a mistake than you do from a success. And I think, someone like him is going to really zone in on that. And he's probably having meetings right now with the players, probably via Zoom, and be like, we're going over tape, we're going over video. The off season is not an off season.
I mean, they got 2.5 months to really review everything. So
yeah,
I would hope that they start 2026 out strong. I mean, considering who they have coming up in Game 1, LA Galaxy. I mean, they just had a horrible year coming off the MLS Cup. I mean, I'm hoping that we get a victory on day 1 in 2026. So I'm not sure, but that game is so far. It's like nearly 3 months away. So I don't know. I mean, I guess Pascal is like, I mean, he's definitely has the players come in on their off day and like do the recovery and everything like that. So, yeah, dude, I think this guy might do what Ronnie Dyla did during the pandemic and just watch every game maybe and go over the mistakes and how he wants to build a team going forward and how he wants his team to look going forward into the 2026 season. So, yeah, man. But I mean, I didn't watch the press conference. I mean, I couldn't really. I wasn't really bothered to watch anything post game of the game. I'm just like, I was just disappointed that we lost 5-1. I'm not disappointed that we lost. I think we all knew realistically we were going to lose the game anyway. But I just think it's in the way we lost it is what really hurts the fan base and everything like that. Because I think everybody was daydreaming of us going to, whether it be Vancouver or San Diego, and winning the cup. So disappointing result to end the season, but it's still a miraculous playoff run to end the year. And, we'll come back stronger in 2026.
Yeah, in this case also, if the team had lost like say 3-2, where they threw everything out there in their game and it came out with a decent score, but 5-1 any way you slice it. It's ironic. It was funny. I was talking to Ted Uncle about this a little bit. And he caught bits of the game and he's like, do you think NYCFC had a shot? And I'm like, really, honestly, no, I didn't. I figured if they had the opportunity to keep it close. Justin Hack had that header at one point, which cut it to 2-1. But you kind of felt like after halftime that Inter Miami was going to turn on the Jets. And they did, and I think they caught NYCFC a little bit on their heels some. And as a result, you saw the results that you got. As far as this game coming up this weekend, I think Miami's going to have an absolutely massive advantage. They're playing at home, which is exactly what they want to do. You've got Messi, basically going on all heels. You have noted playoff experience there, and I'm not sure if Vancouver has that kind of level of experience. Ironically, also playing a little earlier. I wonder if that's going to be how that's going to play out, because for Vancouver, they're playing this game at 11:30 in the morning. Could that play a factor? Maybe. I'm not sure. But, with Berhalter, White, Takaoka, I think they'll make
Kubas.
Yeah.
Muller, yeah.
I think they'll make a good appearance, but I don't know. I can see Inter Miami probably winning this game like 4-1, 4-2.
I'm going to say Vancouver just out of spite.
Listen, honestly, all things considered, I'd much rather see. I had a conversation with one of my Canadian guys earlier today out of Toronto, and he's pulling for Vancouver too, even though he's out of Toronto. And I'm like, you know what? Give Canada a win. They haven't had a championship in any kind of a U.S. based sport since like 2019 with the Raptors. They nearly beat the Dodgers a couple months ago. I'm pulling for Vancouver personally, but the logic in me is like, this is going to be.
I mean, the last time they played in the CCC, Vancouver outclassed them out of two legs, but that was at the start of the season. And now, Miami are on fire, and Vancouver are a good team within their own right. But I mean, could anyone stop Messi and friends? I mean, it's genuinely the last ride for Busquets and Alba, so they're going to want to end off on a high. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be an enticing game. I think most of the fan base after last weekend is going to be pulling for Vancouver. Yeah, man, dude, they got the final they wanted. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, today Olende, you got to assume, he had the hat trick. He had, I think, either 10 or 11 goals. I forget if it was 11 goals, 10 assists, or the other way around. It was like 21 goal contributions during the regular season. But if you're Don Garber, and this is the part that I'm curious about, NWSL pulled 1.148 million people for their final on that Saturday night on CBS. So with Messi, you better pull at least 1.2 million.
They're for sure going to pull the numbers. I mean, it's Messi for crying out. It's Messi versus Muller.
You better hope so.
They're going to pull the numbers.
Last year, they only pulled in 458,000.
That's the Red Bull effect. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah,
team.
Red Bull and LAFC. So you have to hope and pray that Messi is going to give you better ratings and better TV ratings than what you had last year, and something better than the NWSL final. Because NWSL went up by 200,000 from 900,000 to 1.1. And you have to hope that MLS is going to be able to pull at least something better than that.
I think they'll at least double it. At the worst case scenario, they'll at least double it. But I mean, I think they should comfortably triple the viewership from last year. I mean, it's Messi for crying out loud in the final, so people love watching Messi play no matter where it is. You're
probably right. We're going to do a live stream react on here, and because it's Messi, we'll get good numbers like we did last week.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, do I want Vancouver to win? Yes. Do I see Vancouver winning? No. So, all right.
However, I do think they're probably the best team in the West that are equipped to take on this Miami team.
Sure. I mean, I would have considered maybe LAFC, Bouanga, Son, and all those. But yeah, no, this is about as.
But I mean, hell, Vancouver have the right to be here. They beat them, so.
Oh yeah, and they won handily on the road against San Diego. Props to San Diego though for a first season team. So, all right, let me pop over to one more thing that I've got here, which I may have accidentally closed. Did I?
This is the roster decisions coming up.
Yeah, closed it like a dummy. There it is. Okay. Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this a little bit. It's probably the last thing we'll go into right here. The NYCFC roster moves. Some of them didn't surprise me. Some of them did. I mean, getting Tavon Gray, you got to bring Tavon back. Thiago Martins a little bit surprised me. Kevin O'Toole did not surprise me. Romero didn't surprise me. Declining Andres Perea surprised me a little bit because it's like, thank you for your time. Sorry about your leg injury. Good luck. Best to you. But give me your thoughts if you got any.
I mean, maybe the club is possibly gonna negotiate a higher contract with Andres Perea. Mm-hmm. Maybe they saw the numbers that projected, and they were like, "Nah, we want to negotiate. Maybe get that a little higher. Maybe get that a little lower." Mm-hmm. Who knows? That's all for the people at CFG and then Todd Duviant when he comes in to really handle that. But I think that the big one is Justin Hack here, and he's out of contract, and I don't think him and David Lee got along really well, so that's why David Lee didn't offer him a contract extension at the end of last season, and that's why he really wanted to leave the club, because he wanted to become a starter elsewhere, and then Pascal Janssen comes in and and then obviously we saw what happened this year, and him and Maxi, the two players that played all 34 games of the regular season, are at a contract coming into next year. So for Maxi, it may have been the last ride. You obviously don't want him to end it off like that, but I mean, if he goes, we're all going to clap him off. Like, we're all going to say he's a club legend and everything. So we'll all salute him on the way out if he does decide to retire and call it quits. But if he comes back, I think it's really good for depth, really good for the locker room, really good for him to kind of welcome in the new signings when they come in and help them get integrated to New York City. He was really a big piece for Santi Rodriguez. Santi said he was a big part in him, like, growing into the player that he eventually became, and when he was heading out the door here. He really helped players like Agustino Ojeda and Julian Fernandez kind of get more acclimated to the team. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I do think Justin Hack. I do think a deal will be done there. I think they'll actually give him what he's worth, and not for him not to feel disrespected. I think he'll resign, and then I think the plan there is pretty obvious, right? To kind of get him out, ship him off to Europe for a good amount of money. But I know we don't see it on the graphic, but I'm really interested in Jovan and Tavon, or not Tavon, and Talis Magno. I'm really interested in to see what's gonna happen with those players. I know both of them are out on loan right now. Talis is expected to come back at the start of January. Who knows if Corinthians will pull the trigger and making that deal permanent, or if Talis Magno goes out to a different team in a different part of the world, or if he comes back and decides to be integrated with Pascal Janssen. And the same thing with Jovan Mijatovic. I think Jovan's out till at least next summer, and then we'll see what's going to happen from there. I have no idea what Tide is going to do with those players, but I'm really interested in seeing what's going to happen with those two players.
Sure. This is, by the way, Tyler's numbers here. So the 2 seasons he's had with Corinthians, 15 starts across 36 matches, 3 goals, 2 assists. He's still only 22, so it's a little. I don't know in this case. I mean, apparently rumor has it that league office in Europe wanted to really try and make him into a striker, as opposed to a winger and the setup guy that he was alongside.
Clearly didn't work. So
very much didn't work. But it was apparently something that the people on high probably tried to raise value for trade value. But if you look at some, his numbers right there, could they pull him back? Very possibly.
He didn't really like Nick Cushing. Him and Cushing didn't really see eye to eye. So,
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Pascal tries to, extend an olive branch or try to reintegrate him back to the team. He'd be a hell of an addition to the team. Considering you don't even have to spend any money, you just got to bring him back on loan and kind of just train with the team. I think he would have made a big difference in the playoff run that we just had had we known if Alonso was going to go down. So,
and as you can see, that's Jovan's numbers right now.
Yeah, Jovan, I think it's pretty easy. Just cut your losses and good luck. It's just terrible signing. Didn't want to be here in the first place. Really pushed by CFG, but no clue what's going to happen to him. I could genuinely see him get his contract bought out when he comes back from loan.
Which was surprising because they had him on a 5-year deal from 18 years old.
Yeah.
Now someone who's very interesting here to me.
You're essentially halfway through that deal now, so
yeah.
There's no way in hell you're going to give him a new one.
Yeah. Monsef Bakrar, 12 matches, 6 starts, 5 goals.
To be fair, he was turning it around with Pascal.
Yeah.
He could have been useful in the playoff run as well. But who's to know if he really would have made it that much of a difference?
Sure.
But the way he played with Pascal and the way he just looked refreshed and motivated, he seemed like a dog. We essentially recouped the money that we got from him.
Basically, yeah.
So, hey, fair play, fair enough to him. He's doing a good job in Croatia. I think he was on the way to really turning it around. at New York City with Pascal Janssen. So
But
fair play to him.
Credit to him. 12 matches, 5 goals. That is nothing to sneeze at.
It's incredible numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already scored 60% of the goals that he scored with New York City
I know,
in
I
his
love
entirety. So,
good for him. He deserves it. I personally always really liked that kid, and I saw the pain that this kid was going through every time he came close with a goal and couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, I think Nick Cushing didn't do him many favors as well. Just kept trotting him out there. It's kind of like a boxer kind of hanging in there in the later rounds, and he just keeps getting jabbed to the head, and like he just keeps getting hit him there, and like the trainers don't throw in the towel, and the ref doesn't want to stop the fight. Like just nobody's helping the poor guy, and he's just there. He's just left out there and just receiving punches, and you could see he's suffering. Just nobody wanted to end it until Alonso stepped up.
Yeah, and then obviously, like I said, credit to him. I mean, obviously, he's really doing really well over there in Croatia. But
I mean, he got a couple call-ups too to the Algerian national team when he was here as well.
Did, yeah. So, like I said, he's still really young himself. So, I got hope there. But do you think Andre Perea comes back?
You would think so.
Mm.
But I mean, if he's going to be out for a year, and you have no idea what's going to happen with Keaton Parks as well. I mean, Keaton Parks was shut down from what, April? Yeah. So yeah, you have no clue what's going to happen with him. You have no clue if he's going to stay healthy throughout the entirety of 26. So, but I mean, for sure, you got to get in a midfielder and a striker for sure. Those two are definitely like holes that we have to fill in this winter.
It's funny. I saw Keaton up at the training facility. I think it was around September. And he hadn't shown his face for months, and his hair was long. He's got facial hair like bigger than mine. He looked completely different. He was dressed in street clothes, and it was a very tough season for him that way. And we'll hope that maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. There's some talk that he might be done.
I mean, he had like that foot problem for a while, like at the start of the year, like that. The pain was lingering, and he just kept playing through it, and then I guess it was serious enough to the point where they shut him down for essentially like half the year.
Sure. Yeah, it kind of sucked that way, but let's hope he does well, And if push comes to shove, he did write the children's book, so maybe he can fall back on a new career as a writer. So, all right, sir. You got anything else? You think you're okay?
No, I think that's pretty much it. We kind of hit every single point that we can at the with the information and all the stuff that is happening around the club at the time. Sure. And so I think you'll see it die down a little bit because of the holidays and everything like that, especially on the outside looking in. But I think at the inside, like Pascal and the players, they'll probably be working for a little bit longer. And then once like a couple weeks come by, and they'll be like, all right, yeah, go be with your families, go wherever you want. And then I think, a couple weeks after that in the new year, they're definitely going to be hitting the ground running. But I'm looking forward to what Todd Dunham is going to do in his new role. And, I'm just hoping that he could do what David Lee did in just a couple years into the job, winning MLS Cup. So,
also keep in mind that this is also the second youngest team in the league at an average age of 24.7. So an extra year under their belt, I think will help a little bit there too, because it's added maturity. So to get as far as they did with an average roster under 25 years old says a lot right there. So it does give a lot of excitement, I think, for NYCFC fans going into next year, just because of the fact that it's like, okay, another year older. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's something that you have an advantage over Inter Miami. I mean, they're probably only going to get older as time goes on. Even losing Busquets now, but I would still think you'd probably sign somebody that's in their late 20s, early 30s, maybe, to go play down there with Messi and friends. So
there's talk Neymar may come over.
I mean, it's literally written in the stars, right? Because Alba's the DP, he's going to be retiring. They're gonna get that spot right away. And I mean, I think Neymar scored 2 goals at least. I'm not sure if he scored a hat trick tonight for Santos, but I mean, if he comes over, I think he could kind of just wrap it up. As MSN are going to win MLS Cup, unfortunately.
Very possible, yeah. They'll be the dynasty that the league loves to hate. So, all right, Davi, I think I'm good at this point. I figure we'll wrap this up. You got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. Yeah. So anyway, as always, where can people find you on social media?
At that boy Davi on X. reoccurring guest on Goals TV and the Battered Fans Network.
Nice.
Blue Burrows Pod. We haven't really been active on there because we've all been busy, but best believe at some point in December we're gonna drop an episode looking at the whole of the season and what's gonna happen going forward, and of course the hiring of Todd Duviant as the sporting director. And we're just excited for 2026. The schedule came out a little bit early, on a random Thursday, but I mean, hell, that just gives us more time to kind of just plan around everything and plan to see what games we want to go to. So, obviously when the new schedule drops, you get that excitement. So we'll see you guys at the stadium on March 7th next year. So
yes, but first off, they got to face an LA team who's desperate to prove that last year was a fluke.
Yeah.
But yeah, home openers, believe it or not, blinking right around the corner.
And then a rematch at Philadelphia.
Yes.
Just before. So
which I think is awesome. Real quick on that one. So anyway, I'm Scott. That's Davi. Stream Punk Soccer. Thanks as always. Take care and stay awesome.